Yeah, everybody say
Okay.
track.
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 I'm gonna do my diligence and share this out.
Yeah, me too.
Here you go.
So
Dirty work out of the way.
Oh, a little business, real quick. I know we're live, but Chuck, make sure our levels are good. I told my neighbor, I said, "Oh yeah, I've been podcasting for 17 years. Really, I'll check it out." Well, he was somewhere doing work in his truck. He said, I'm gonna listen to Craig's podcast. Pulled it up and says, "Your volume was so low, and that other fella you podcast with is really high." So I had to keep. He kept turning the volume.
Was he listening to this or Technorama?
No, Technorama.
Okay, you said Trek. I mean, isn't that supposed to be part of Alphonic's job? Is to correct
A little
some of
bit. If it's too far off, I just want to make sure that your settings are good.
I'm watching the meters, and when you get loud, you peak them out. So I'm backed them off a little bit, but then you're not always that loud.
Hey, David Sitter.
And then remember, I said your microphone was kind of going up and down at times.
Yes.
So don't.
You know what? I think that may have something to do with it. I'm gonna have to really check that out because it's aggravating. I think when it does that, I hear something different in my ears too. It changes volume. My volume jumps up over yours in my headphones, and I'm like, I don't know. Just like now, I don't know what's going on.
See, I didn't hear any difference on that part.
Okay, well, still, I think it has something to do with this machine and its USB.
And your volume is consistently louder than Clinton's on this one.
Oh,
as it should be.
No.
I'm like Guitar Rock. I could turn it up, or Freedom Rock, but
or The Rock.
Right. We're doing fine.
Okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure because when I throw it through Ralphonic, it'll also level-ate it some too.
All right, we got somebody watching out there on Facebook or YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube.
Diane, listener Diane. The only listener.
There she is.
We have two listeners, Gary and Diane.
So listen, you could increase our listenership by 50%.
That's right.
Just by joining us live.
We'll call you up by name, clearly.
I'm ready to start when you are.
Bring a couple of friends and we can triple our... No.
Did someone say trip?
We can trip Tucker our numbers. There we go. All right.
You know how long it took for them to explain why they call them trip?
Well,
it was like towards the end of season 2, early season 3.
I kind of fell down on the job on that one. Hey, but I want to tell you. All right, let's
tripped over it. I fell down.
It's short for tryptophan.
Let us get started, shall we?
Okay. In 5, 4, 3, 2.
This is The Topic is Trek, episode 113 for Friday, April 29th, 2022. Coming up in this episode, all that and more, because I forgot to put in bullet points for the second time in a row. So we'll all discover together what's going on. This is how the sausage is made, people. Hit the theme, boys. To beam or not to beam? I'm saying not. Welcome to The Topic is Trek, the podcast that runs on impulse power. Join us for a journey where no show has gone before. If it has to do with Star Trek, there's a good chance we'll talk about it. Sooner or later, because on this show, the topic is Trek. Engage already. Okay, first bullet point for me is, hi, I'm Clinton, and welcome to another thrill-packed episode of The Topic is Trek. On this episode, we will be talking about some Star Trek news. I'm going to give a little bit of analysis on those Netflix earnings numbers and what it could or could not mean for Paramount Plus. And we're going to talk about 3 episodes of Star Trek Picard, including the penultimate episode. And then we have our Warp Speed Roundtable. So all that is coming up, but first, beaming in as always from parts unknown with the hip new catchphrase that all the kids are talking about these days, it's Mr. Craig Stepp.
Will you accept this, Rose?
Well, yeah, but I will, but do you have a phrase?
That was it?
Thought that was kind of like for after the show, but anyway.
Look,
I feel like he just Googled.
Huh?
He just Googled catchphrase, scrolled down a couple pages and pick one.
After 113 episodes, there's only so many catchphrases in the world.
Now we'll ask you for 114. So
after 112, he gave up.
I'm gonna start making up some.
Well, that's the idea. Make one
Oh,
that was the original intent.
oh.
I guess we didn't re-explain that to him. And also beaming in to join me from other parts unknown, but somehow his voice is already here, is Mr. Chuck Tomasi.
When you started the show and said hit the theme, boys, I was tempted to hit the ending theme because that's usually where that phrase goes.
Yeah, well, maybe at that point, maybe I was ready for that.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Lots of moving parts in this. Lots of moving parts in this episode, I'm telling you.
Yes, there is. All right. Well,
so
there's a lot of Trek news going on.
He had one job and one extra week. And there's no news about Elon Musk and Twitter in here either.
No. Matter of fact, I'm not sure if I have any news about Strange New Worlds. I figured any news we put in about Strange New Worlds,
it's going to be obsolete in a week.
Yeah, by the time you listen to this, you're going to know most of the stuff going on. Matter of fact, some people are going to a premiere, I believe, on April 30th. So definitely some word. Now, they probably have an NDA that they have to sign, I'm
Sure.
guessing, for that. So we theoretically won't hear anything, but we'll see.
By somebody, are you talking about you?
No, not me. Not me.
Oh,
Mark Lee?
I'm not sure if Mark is going, but a couple of people that I'm friends with on Facebook do have invitations to go. And it might be for the I know the
did I get one? I'm gonna look through here.
Larry Nemechek?
We'll see one on my desk.
Possibly. I'm sure Larry's going to something. He's
Dr. Aaron McDonald. Oh wait, she kind of helped put the show together.
Yeah, I think she's probably already seen it. But.
So I know we mentioned this a little bit before we started recording, but what is y'all's excitement level for Strange New Worlds? I'm super into it. I'm ready to check it out. I think what I've seen looks great. What I've heard looks great.
And I've said that I'm trying to manage those expectations because this, I feel, is possibly the first Star Trek period that, if we're to believe how this got put together, is completely fan demanded. I mean, really, you think about it, that it was kind of a backdoor pilot, but if it kind of crashed and burned, I don't think they were going to go with anything.
Yeah.
So there's a lot on the line here, a lot of excitement, a lot of hype, and as we can see in the stories that we didn't cover on the show this time around, lots of news stories about it. So I want to keep my expectations at it's another Star Trek show that hopefully I will enjoy, and not, oh my God, this is going to be the best thing since sliced bread.
I'm entering it 100% cold. I have not seen anything. I have not heard anything.
You haven't watched any of the teasers or trailers?
To be fresh.
Really? You haven't watched any of the teasers or trailers?
I have not. Doing that on purpose.
Whereas I have, because that's part of my job, working on the show.
Well,
You're
I want to
retired. You don't have a job.
Yeah,
doing these show notes is the job. But anyway,
the Google algorithms know me too well. It's going to shove all these articles in my face anyway. So I might as well just dip my toes in the river.
So quickly,
of Google.
if the people in the chat want to respond really quickly, what's your excitement level for Strange New Worlds?
Yeah. Oh, look, our buddy Gary's there.
Yep.
He said this show looks like a cadet review.
Well, that's always true. So when I
break it up. Yeah, there you go.
All right. Let's
visually, I think it's spot on. At least what they've seen in the little trailers and stuff.
Right, and I'm trying to figure out I can't think that they're actually going to use TOS's theme as their main theme, but it features really prominently in everything, including the clip they just released in this week's Ready Room, where Pike is approaching the Enterprise, and there's the TOS theme right there up front.
I didn't even watch the Ready Room yet. Okay.
We're in big trouble if they decided to use this music.
That would be a problem. That would be a big problem.
They kicked us off T-Public. Now they're going to take our theme away.
Well, and Diane brings up a good point. She's happy that it's episodic. And
yes, and see, I've said this before. I think Star Trek is better episodic. Rather, I know DS9 did it well. Discovery.
Well, I had a conversation with this about this exact subject with Bonnie last night. I was saying that, and we'll get talking about Picard later on in the show, but I'm feeling like the writers can't quite figure out how to deal with Trek as a 10 to 12 part story, that they all seem to be really oddly broken up and obvious what appears to be filler and stuff. And so the fact that Deep Space Nine was able to do it is a testament to not only them, but the fact that they did it really long haul with some episodes that had nothing to do with the main story. And then you'd have, one very central to it and then go back off of it again. So I don't think that Star Trek can't do a story that's just broken up over 10 to 13 episodes. I'm just saying I haven't seen a really spectacular example of it so far in New Trek. I feel like the thing that comes closest to it is Lower Decks, and Prodigy is just one long continuous story. So it's
also the same.
It's it's by its own nature, it's just a story that goes on and on and on. But Lower Decks, will pepper in things. You'll have something kind of close to the topic, and they'll go away again, and it just comes back at the end. So they're doing really that that series thing, that whole story arc thing, really well. And some of the live action stuff is just it's not quite there. So episodic is good. I agree. Episodic is good. All right. Well, we have lots of show to get to, and we haven't even started yet. So let's get going. We'll start, as always, with me saying to our good friend, Charlie. Charlie, is it okay to go ahead with Subspace Chatter? Oh,
you're too kind calling him our good friend.
You don't need all that subspace chatter.
And that's why.
I guess you're right. I'm going to call my dearest, closest enemy, Charlie, next time.
I disagree with your assessment, Charlie, and you're wrong.
Oh, well, and then suddenly Craig disappears. All right. Why don't you start us off with the first story, Chuck?
Absolutely. In a recent series of tweets, the Twitter account Art of Trek posted images of the construction of TNG's Enterprise D. But we're not talking about Starfleet's Utopia Planitia shipyard here. We mean the 6-foot filming model of the starship. The thread starts with model builders studying the huge deck plans for the model. Then, over a course of 16 behind-the-scenes photos, you watch as the parts are cast, lighting is added, and the model is painted and detailed. The thread ends with a shot of the finished model as it appeared in an episode of the show. We have a link to the article as well as the Twitter thread itself in the show notes for episode 113, Beam or Not to Beam, over at thetopicstrek.com.
All right. Yeah, it was a nice... I hadn't seen these photos before. I don't know if I...
Did you look at these, Craig?
I think I knew at one point that the Enterprise was cast as clear, which is how you get the lighting, the interior lighting to show through. But it's kind of shocking just to see it looking clear, completely transparent. Like, wow, that's some cloaking device.
Yeah, I have seen some of these over time, but yeah, that is kind of weird. Seeing
it's not quite working.
Yeah, that clearish plexiglass. Not plexiglass. I guess it was kind of like that. Yeah, that stuff. It was amazing to see.
And even though you see them putting all this detail in it, you run into the problem where, of course, we know that when it got to the movies, that it didn't have the detail for the big screen, which is the primary reason that they had it destroyed in Generations, is because they just didn't want to use that model anymore. It just wasn't appropriate for the big screen. All right, Craig, take us away with the next story.
All right.
Let's
Now, I
crash
love
it
this
into the
one.
planet.
That's right. I love this one. So you may have never wondered what the Star Trek The Next Generation would have looked like as a cheesy 70s animation, but you should have. And you know what? You don't have to imagine anymore because it's glorious. Justin Lee from Gazette Automations is behind this one. He took a short scene from Best of Both Worlds Part 1 and recreated it using those lovingly flawed filmation techniques that we saw in Star Trek The Animated Series. And you can go back because we reviewed a lot of them. And it's all there. The stock set of body motions, dirt, dust on the screens, shifty eyes, the odd color choices, and doors being open that shouldn't be. And we also get Eric's at the nav station because there is a Kazinti sitting there. We don't get. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just like, well, he wasn't in there. That's right.
Sorry, you're a Kazinti this time, Eric's.
That's right. And the animation runs about 2 minutes. So if you watch the making of video, you also get a short bonus animation of Wesley Crusher at the navigation console. You can find both videos in the show notes for episode 113, To Beam or Not to Beam, over at the Topic is Trek. There you go. I loved every second of this. I thought it was great. Especially the side-by-side he showed in the making of, which was cool. That was super cool.
I love the fact that the Borg that show up just have that look like the henchman characters in the animated series. That exact same. They're not really Borgified. They just kind of have a little bit of stuff on them.
Yeah,
hilarious.
Yes. And the turbo lift doors are open. They're left open. Normally they're closed. That kind of stuff.
And those dramatic pauses where you just have a close up of Picard's face with the eye, with the pupils just darting back and forth.
Yeah,
which was a classic animated series bit because limited animation. We got those are the cells we got. We're gonna do that.
Yeah, I was seriously want to see. I want to see more. They even used the old music from the old 70s. It's like the music really set it in motion.
Right, and I could tell, the techniques they were using to take out, because there was music in some of those pieces. You can kind of hear in some places the dialogue gets a little wavy because those are the places they actually had to extract the original music and put in the filmation music.
Yeah, you can do it this tight. Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned that because we've noticed that on other things too, other projects we've talked about that same little thing. You have to try and shave out just the voice, but you almost can hear a little overlap. Did you watch it, Chuck?
No, I did not.
Oh, you're in for a treat. Don't stop now and watch it, but you're in for a treat.
Oh, you do. He's waiting till the movie comes out.
I'm not going to spoil it.
I'm not
going to spoil it.
I don't think that's a problem with this one.
Don't want to set any expectations.
I would love to see a whole episode or something. I know it's time consuming, but yeah, it was worth it.
Yeah, it really was a kind of a pet project of his. I think he said he originally just did it to show his wife and then said, maybe I'll post this.
Yeah.
And so he posted it and he went away and had something to eat and came back and was like, whoa, the internet was on fire about it.
Yeah. It is how we animated it. The video he was describing the dirt on the cells, you can see the dirt move with the animation. He said he imagined back then people were still smoking in the office and it's probably like some cigarette ash.
Yeah. Got to put the next slide up. Hold on. There we go.
It's just got cigarette ash. Let me wipe it off and put it on there.
It'll be fine. No one will notice. We'll show it one time. It'll be gone. Don't worry about it.
I think it takes a big drag and then he goes, I think I got something on there.
Yeah.
Made it worse.
I'm sure it happened.
He was eating crackers while he did that too.
Yeah. Crump.
All right. Well, let's move on to our next story. Chuck, take us away again.
I'm back up again.
You are.
Okay. Usually when we mention adult beverages here on the show, we're talking about spirits being produced by Paramount licensed companies. I have seen more pictures of the what is it, the 5 or 6 pack with the Canar and the Romulan. I was like, wow. I don't know what's up. A lot of people are buying that stuff these days. Well,
Hmm.
that's what we typically see. The Klingon ale, the 10 Forward vodka, the Romulan ale. But this story is about a whiskey that is clearly made here on modern day Earth. Was this Borg Queen special? We're going to find out.
Yeah.
In the Picard season 2 episode of 2 of 1, we get a close-up image of a bottle of alcohol that seems to be calling to Rafi. Fortunately, she has the willpower to resist temptation. Oh, but we know resistance is futile. The bottle in question is from the No-Co distillery in Fort Collins, Colorado. And demand for the product has been so high since it appeared on Star Trek, the distillery is holding a lottery to see who will get one of the 500 bottles of bourbon 2 whiskey that gets produced this year.
Mm.
If you want in on the lottery, be aware the bottle will cost you $100.
Jeez.
We have a link. Someone's going to be doing some expensive cosplay, I'll tell you that. We have a link to the No-Co lottery page. Naturally, restrictions apply, and you must confirm that you are over 21 years of age, blah, 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 on the website.
I'm just gonna get a bottle and use a Sharpie and make it look like
Your own label.
Get a good screen cap of it. And it turns out that this wasn't a random thing. This was definite product placement. The company had there's a person at the distillery, and they try to get product placement, and there was something that was going to happen, and because of the pandemic, that deal fell through, and so then they came up with this instead, which is why when you watch the scene, and I noticed it at the time, you linger a little bizarrely long on that bottle.
Yeah, it's like
a loving pass over it with a little lens flare. No, not that bad.
Yeah, lens flare.
It's just they hold it up with the hand model and turn the label to the camera. Here you go, Rafi.
Picard's crew went back in 2024 and they turn on the TV and start watching commercials.
Wayne's World. What? I am not a sellout.
I was hoping that we go back in time and watch and turn on the TV and be like Galaxy Quest, the series.
Yeah. No, my head would explode. That's too meta. Too meta.
Quest, the next generation.
The Orville.
I think I did tweet the showrunner and tell him. I said I full expect to see Galaxy Quest, the next generation on TV. Anyway.
You can just see Rios getting into the Orville. This is good stuff.
Yeah. It's incredible these days what they're doing. All right, Craig, and you're up again, my friend.
Am I? Okay. Well, the new book, the Star Trek Book of Friendship, is all about, friendships. It will explore the timelessness on screen of tech relationships. And we're not talking about Kirk and Spock or Picard and Riker. Bones should be in there somewhere. This book looks at the friendships between Janeway and Seven, and Burnham and Tilly, Archer and Porthos, and more. In fact, authors say the illustration of a simpler Taylor, Garrick, dressing Dr. Bashir should be on display in a museum. Friend of the show, Dr. Aaron McDonald, makes a special appearance in the book, and the foreword is written by Star Trek icons Robert Picardo and Ethan Phillips. In addition, a portion of the proceeds of the book will go to the Planetary Society.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, we will have a link to the book now available for pre-order. You can get your own copy. You can now find it in the show notes for episode 113. As I said before, to beam or not to beam, over at topicstrek.com. And
how many times are we going to plug that show? Jeez, they ought to owe us money.
Well, this isn't an affiliate link, just to let you know. It's just a plain old link. But if you want to throw money our way, that's a whole other thing. But
no.
This is not so go, then go.
All right. And in Vulcan, Alberta, Canada news. Canada news.
All right.
This is not specific to Vulcan, but it has to do with the province. With tourism-based communities struggling in the province of Alberta due to COVID, the Alberta government changed the mandate of Travel Alberta, the province's tourism bureau. It will now be a destination management organization. This will allow Travel Alberta to better work directly with communities, businesses, and entrepreneurs to develop new tourism experiences, products, and destinations. The 3-year tourism strategy, referred to as the Bootstrap Plan, wow, it took them a long time to come up with that one, will center around 3 pillars: marketing, air access, and destination development. Now, air access, are they going to like build airports? I have no idea. The government also
Balloons.
increased travel.
Drop you in via drone.
The government also increased Travel Alberta's budget by $63 million over the next 3 years, which should position it to support economic recovery through the delivery of coordinated programs and services. And of course, that will include Vulcan, Alberta, Canada. So we should hopefully be hearing more from them soon, because they're going to have some more help thrown their way by the government in Alberta.
We should go there and podcast one day.
We should. We absolutely should.
How far is it from you?
North.
In the nice weather.
North.
It's north. It's approximately north from here.
And very, very west.
Yeah. So, well, but I think we should make a visit there sometime, especially after all this time. We've been keeping that town alive at this point. All right. And we also have additional links to 41 stories broken up by series, movies, and other categories that you can find over in the show notes for the show. You'll find everything from an article on how Star Trek Enterprise actors say that season 5 would have crushed it, to Nicholas Meyer reminding us that his concentric SETI Alpha 5 miniseries script is it's just sitting there waiting for somebody to pick that up and make that.
Yeah.
Plus a whole lot of Strange New Worlds articles. No, I mean it, a whole lot of them, because funny thing, they've done a lot of press junkets lately and everybody has coverage about that one. So just go over to the show notes for episode 113 to beam or not to beam over at thetopicistrek.com. And that said, yes.
It will take me 36 hours to drive to Vulcan, Alberta, Canada.
Start now. No, wait, don't.
Yes. I'm out of here.
Don't.
Check how long it'll take if you walk.
It doesn't give me walking directions, but unfortunately, this route has tolls, so I got to be prepared for that too.
Bring a lot of change with you. Somebody go back and get a bunch of change. All right. It's time for my favorite part of the show, and that's to say to my dear, close, personal enemy, Charlie. Goodbye, Charlie.
I want to stay.
Exactly, Eric. He's gone. All right. Let's take a few minutes here. I'm going to take a side tour here to the briefing room.
Mm-hmm.
And
We have a briefing room?
We do.
Where did this happen?
We have a briefing room. We have a ready
episodes.
room. We have,
From all that money we got from the non-affiliate links.
I want to know where the bathroom is. It's been
we
113
told the
episodes.
tourism bureau that we're in Alberta, and they gave us some of the 63 million.
$20.
Well, I'll take
It's
it.
the most this
Hey.
show has ever seen.
We promote their town, for crying out loud. All right.
All right. So, recently we had some news about Netflix, and I know that sometimes even outside the United States that Star Trek shows are shown on Netflix, but it was not great news. And I wanted to just give a quick rundown of my thoughts on what this may or may not mean to Paramount Plus and other streaming services, and what was all this about to begin with. So you may have heard that Netflix lost subscribers last quarter.
A few.
First thing you're wondering is, what lost? Did they look underneath the couch cushions? Because maybe they were there. But
Well, that's usually where you watch Netflix.
what you may not have wondered is, how does this affect Paramount Plus? So right off the bat, how bad was the Netflix news? Well, depending on how you look at it, Netflix had projected to gain 2.5 million subscribers, but instead, over the past quarter, they lost 200,000. Now, globally, the streaming giant has over 220 million subscribers, so the loss equaled about 0.1%. But there's more. Netflix is also projecting that they may lose 2 million more in the quarter that we're in right now. Okay, so companies get and lose subscribers all the time. What's the big deal about this? Well, simply put, it's the fact that it was a loss at all, a rare occurrence for the former DVD rental company. Anybody ever rent DVDs from Netflix? Raise
Oh,
your
yeah.
hands.
I used
All
to,
the time.
yeah.
And that sent panic through Wall Street and the streaming industry. Netflix stock fell almost 40% on the news.
Mm-hmm.
And the shockwave took down the parent companies of other streaming services. Disney, Warner Brothers, who's the parent company of HBO and CNN and those services, and
Hulu.
Paramount Global were down around 5%. Amazon and Apple didn't fall anywhere near as much, and mainly because streaming services, although they have them, they're not really the core part of their business.
Right.
So it's not going to affect them as much.
Yeah.
As far as Paramount Global, and we got to get used to saying that because that's now the name of all this stuff. Paramount Viacom Stevens is Paramount Global. As far as Paramount Global goes, the company had 56 million subscribers currently, and 33 million of those are with Paramount Plus. The remainder included subscriptions to Showtime and other services. And it was a record-breaking increase of 9.4 million global subscribers for Paramount in the period. In fact, overall, the amount of people who used any type of streaming service was up 27% last year. All right, if the industry is doing well, why did Netflix go backwards? And what will happen to Paramount Plus? Well, actually, Paramount is probably one of the reasons Netflix numbers are down.
Yep.
The service, along with Disney, HBO, and Peacock, have been pulling their content from Netflix and making it exclusive to their own streaming services. If you want your fix at Harry Potter, well, you got to go to HBO. You want Star Wars, Disney Plus. And of course, you want Star Trek, you go to Paramount Plus. But Netflix has lots of their own movies and shows like Strange New Worlds, Bridgerton, Ozark.
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things, sorry. The problem, I've got strange all over the place here. They have
Things are
Doctor Strange. No, that's another thing altogether. The problem is that Netflix does next to no promotion for any of its dozens and dozens of original shows. I mean, how many banners and online spots have you seen for Halo or The Mandalorian or Ted Lasso? This has slowly become a problem for Netflix, given all the content they have greenlit. Many shows premiere with only a few weeks announcement, only appear below the fold, if you remember that term. So it's like you have to scroll to get to it on the homepage and either fade away or survive only due to word of mouth. A customer who subscribes to Netflix might not think of it as a destination for a brand, making it easier to jump ship to another service. Additionally, Netflix has begun to use data to help them select shows to approve or renew. And the imaginative creators behind all those out of the ordinary shows Netflix approved say the streaming service is not being totally transparent with them about these numbers and what they mean. So they're getting frustrated saying, well, it's very arbitrary. I don't understand why they're doing what they're doing.
Right.
Worst of all, given the type of given the fact that Netflix is a will greenlight anything place, or it had been up to this point, the service is now taking into account viewing versus cost. You know, like the rest of the streaming world has to do. Is this worth the price we're paying for it? Which means the companies that may be new to streaming, but are not new to making content, such as Disney and Paramount, might have a better grip on how to balance out creativity, promotion, and cost. It's why Paramount Plus premiered with both a commercial free tier and a much less expensive option with commercials, a format that both Netflix and Disney Plus are likely to implement very soon. So do I think Paramount Plus will be pulled down by the weight of the Netflix loss? Once the dust settles, I don't think so. Of course, Paramount Global still faces challenges. How do they strike the right balance between movies that premiere in theaters versus on Paramount Plus? Is the strategy of premiering shows on Paramount Plus and then moving them over to their other channels like Nickelodeon, is that a good one? And Paramount Plus still needs to get its act together when it comes to day and date releases. Strange New Worlds will not premiere in all markets on the 5th of next month, including the UK. It will not premiere in the UK same day and date. And so that causes, remember what happened with Discovery when it was like this last minute decision to not have that premiere, everyone was up in arms about it. Now
Mhm.
you've got this thing that they are heavily promoting, and it's not going to be everywhere. So now this is part of not the delaying Strange New Worlds, but this is part of the strategy this year for Paramount Plus is to get into all these different markets by the end of either this year or the first part of 2023. So this problem will start to ease up at a certain point, but I'm hoping that they realize the tack that they took to get Discovery available to everybody by putting it on Pluto, by putting it on these other services,
Oh yeah. Mhm.
just to make sure that people could see it and not have to like la,
Yeah.
block their ears for
Right.
3 months. They've got to do that. So I think the future could be okay for Paramount Plus.
I think you hit on a couple of good points. And speaking of Netflix, I think their problem is one. I think that they shoved out so much stuff that they started getting a reputation for, it's gonna suck, because 9 times out of 10 things have sucked. Then there's a gym. So there's that, and this whole splintering, like you just talked about, doing splintering up across the globe. That's gonna cut into their thing because people they'll just pirate it or watch it in some nefarious way that they're going to miss out on a subscription or going through the subscription service to see it.
Well, I think that also people are becoming more accustomed to, having a service for 2 months, watching what they
Mhm.
want to watch, canceling, getting the free subscription for 2 weeks and binging everything there and then canceling again. And that may become the way of the future. Another possibility is that all of these services may start to do transactions where you can buy this or buy that without subscribing to the service, because they'll make it, they'll punch a hole through that wall, as it will, to let you see this, that, or the other thing at a price.
Yeah.
So, we'll see how that all works in the long run, because let's face it, this really, aside from Netflix, is a relatively new venture for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to make it work. And I think the fact that Paramount Plus had the best growth of any of the streaming services last year.
Mhm.
And that's all of them.
Yeah.
It had the best. And Netflix has now people worried, as Netflix now reached the top of what it's going to get, and it's going to only down to go from there.
Yeah. No,
Whereas
I think they'll turn it around, but like I said, they're going to have to quit throwing everything against the wall to see what it sticks and pick and choose a little bit better. So
I glaze over when I go to Netflix going, I have no idea what to, it's throwing everything, people recently watched, you recently watched, here are recommendations, here are 15 different categories. Here's our most popular. Here's our current top. Here's I want what? I think that's why they added just
I will
play
say
something
that the
button.
user experience for their UI is still better than Paramount's by a
Oh
long
God,
shot.
I was about
Way
to
better
say the
than
same thing.
Amazon and Hulu. Why Hulu doesn't start on my stuff is beyond me. It's like, because they want to show you what they want to show you first.
Yeah, show the algorithm results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Netflix has been spending a lot of money, and that was not sustainable. I heard a number that it's like $3,000 per household to give you these original productions, and they were just throwing money hand over fist to have original content.
Stranger Things, the current season, the season that's going to premiere at the end of next month, I believe it was $30 million. Was it? I forget, something like 30 million. Is it 3 or 30? It was in millions. I think. I almost want to think it was $30 million an episode or something bizarre, something
Probably.
like insane. And that's why I think
hey,
they
that's
have to
like
start looking at
Friends. That's Friends level budget.
Yeah, they have to start. That's why they have to start looking at. Why I think they realize they have to start actually looking at numbers and the real world and reality, which I guarantee you, every other one of these services did. They didn't start with let's just show everything. They said, okay, what is the business plan for how this is supposed to work?
Yeah, that's because they came from a studio mentality.
Yep.
They already had that, whereas Netflix was not originally.
Yeah, Netflix, originally, just like anything else, all they had was other people's movies, and then they had to ramp up with their own content quickly, and that's why they were throwing money at everything so much. And I think they kept that mentality too long, because we ended up with a lot of stuff that just was half baked. But as to your point though, like Paramount, well, you got CBS making content that's on there, and then you got Paramount stuff they're making content and that's going on there, and then Paramount's got some great movies, that are on there. So I just wish they'd work on that UI. It sucks.
Right.
It doesn't even work half the time on my smart TV. I have to go to the Apple TV to watch Paramount.
Well, you know what? Yeah. And you know what really, I know we're starting to complain about Paramount Plus, but one thing I really hate about them is that I go to play something and then maybe I'll stop it and I'll come back later and it starts off from the beginning again. I'm like, those are some of the things that
Really?
Netflix gets.
Oh,
right.
I had it even worse.
I don't have that.
I watched
have
like
that problem.
4 or 5 episodes over the course of a couple of nights on my iPad.
Mhm.
And then we sat down and watched it on the Apple TV, and it didn't remember any of them. Like, I've already seen this. I've already seen this.
Yeah.
I've already seen this. There's only so many times you can hear that. Do.
Yeah, because I have the opposite problem. It always remembers where I leave off with episodes, and for the show, I'm like bouncing back and forth between like 3 different episodes. So when I say, "Hey, Bonnie, you haven't seen the current episode of Picard, let's start watching it," and I have to say, "You have to leave the room because it's starting off where I left off, like 3/4 of the way through the
Right.
episode."
Yeah, the Apple TV will be great at that because I can just fire it up, and as soon as I start the Paramount Plus app, it resumes that episode of that show right there. I was like, that was awesome. But if I switch devices, it gets all wonky.
Yeah. I have a feeling I know what my problem is. And
wait, which one?
Tell us. No, just kidding.
with Paramount Plus,
Oh, okay.
as I mentioned, I think what happens is, how it says, like when Star Trek Picard comes out, there's a tile on there that says watch now. And it's like for the current episode.
Yeah.
Well, if I play from that, it seems to not remember where I leave off.
It plays
come
episode
back.
1.
But if I go, it plays the current episode. But maybe I watch, I'm just saying 10 minutes and I stop it and I come back later and fire up my browser again and go play it. And it didn't remember where I left off. But if I go through my stuff or my list, play the episode by clicking on it through that, it seems to work just fine.
Well, speaking of Picard, we should get to the 3 episodes.
I was just going to say the same thing. We got 3 episodes to go, and we are way into this already.
Anyway, that's my problem. Unscientifically, I think I know where the problem's at.
All right, so clearly, spoiler alert if we haven't mentioned it already, because we're going to thank you. We're going to be talking about the 3 most recent episodes of Star Trek Picard, leading up to next week's season finale. All right, so let's see. Let's have.
We need a sound effect. There we go.
All right, Chuck, why don't you tell us about the first one we will be discussing?
Episode 6. No, we did 7, 8, 9. Episode 7 is called Monsters. It was written by Jane Maggs and directed by Joe Menendez. And in this episode, T'Lyn enters Picard's subconscious mind to help him wake from a coma and face his deepest fears. Seven and Rafi search for Jaradi, fearing she succumbed to her inner monster, and Rios struggles to hide the truth about himself from Teresa.
All right, so this episode mostly takes place inside Picard's head.
Almost like an Inception moment, because they're there as adults, but then you see the kid, and like there's like two things happening at the same, 2 time periods happening at the same time.
Yeah, a little bit. Yep.
Right. So it's a hard one to just kind of come at from any particular angle, but we have this kind of beginning to middle part of the story. We get the ending a little bit later, but this concept of who Picard was as a young child and his interactions with his mother and
his father.
Right. And these fears that he has about losing his mother, these chasing through the catacombs, which we know are underneath Chateau Picard. And in the midst of all this, we get introduced to a psychologist who is interviewing Picard in what Picard says is this ready room. And the questions are strange. The dialogue is very conversational, yet very tense between these two people. And it's like,
Right.
why is this conversation so
like they know each other, but you don't know why they know each other, kind of thing.
Right. And we come to find out that it's Maurice Picard.
I thought he was just talking to Dr. Bashir.
Well, since he was actually talking to Baltar, not
I was gonna say,
Bashir.
Gaius Baltar. Hey, what's up, man?
Which
by
I
the way,
find hilarious because we've now we have two people that have played that both of the Baltars have shown up on Star Trek.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
It's true.
I was gonna say, and by the way, he doesn't look like he aged a day since the last time I've seen that guy.
Right. They made him look disheveled a bit, though. And I think that was on purpose because that's probably, I mean, really, if this is all taking place in Picard's head, this is going to be his subconscious, like working through what really happened here. And so he's off the start of things, he's going to kind of have a negative image portrayed of his father, even if he doesn't realize it's father. At that point, he's just going to not have him looking his best. At that point, be very cranky and, just being a horrible person. So we're, of course, drawn into that as well, thinking, well, who is this guy? He's obnoxious and so forth. Then we get a reveal that I think we kind of saw coming, but at the same time we didn't. On this one, I don't know. Did the ending of the episode where we find out what the father was doing, did that come as a surprise to either of you?
Kind of did.
Mhm.
You got the vibe that mom was suffering from depression.
Yeah,
And Picard always thought dad was a bad guy because he took mom and locked her away. But then, when he said, no, I was doing that for her protection because, well, we'll find out later. But it was enlightening. I won't say it was a total surprise.
And we have
I was a little surprised
Really?
because I was just a little bit because to what Chuck was saying, you get the idea that Picard, well, he hadn't really talked about his dad a whole lot, so he probably was kind of shutting him out of his mind because he thought he was a bad guy to his mom.
Right.
And
And
at
I
that age, he
thought that-
probably didn't understand. I mean, mom could have been an alcoholic, wouldn't have understood.
Yeah, he was a kid. Yeah.
Right. And if she's always the one that's playful and the father has to take on the role of the bad guy.
Yep.
I mean, I think Picard was hearing some of these conversations and they were coming up because Maurice is even saying how I tried to get her help, but she wouldn't take it. So he must have heard that conversation. And we see, again, we'll talk about more later, but we see conversations where the two of them are having and young Jean-Luc is still in the room. So this is probably where he's overhearing, not processing it, as Chuck said, but hearing these conversations about what was happening.
Right.
But yeah, she was the fun one and he was the meanie. But
Good
all
cop,
was
bad cop.
Exactly. But we have Talon going in there with this kind of becoming now this trope. It's apparently very easy to go inside someone else's mind in Star Trek and just kind of walk around in there.
Here, give me 2 seconds. Wire it up.
Yeah, didn't Bashir and
well, the agent from
no, Cole
Section
Meany's
31. Oh,
wow, I am having a senior moment here.
you talking O'Brien?
O'Brien, yes, thank you. I just could not pull that name out for whatever reason.
I have those.
Yeah,
days
they went
maybe.
in. They were in something like that too. It's like going down the hallway and it's like, well, they turn a corner. Well, this corner wasn't here a minute ago. They were in somebody's mind about to die in like one of these situations too.
Well, that was it. That they went inside of Sloane's
mind. That's what it was. Yes.
Right.
He was dying, and he was actually trying to take them with him.
Yeah, we're trying to get some secrets out of his head.
Yep, in his filing cabinets, because that's what you would have is filing cabinets.
Look at this place; it's a mess. It's got pads everywhere.
Blow off the dust.
Then isn't that where they had all the pads stacked up everywhere?
Yeah,
Oh, they've had a number of pads. Yeah, that's a good trope too. It's like, here, I brought you some reading material. This one is the finest works of this. This one is. It's like, why don't you just give me SD cards
here.
that I can put in them?
Yeah, that's right.
now
doesn't this ship have Wi-Fi? I can just download and stuff.
No.
yeah, well, all this is, we also have Guinan trying to summon Q.
Yeah, that was an interesting. That was
which
more
was
like
a
a
biz-
Harry
which was a-
Potter thing.
I was
Yeah.
getting a black magic vibe.
That was
I was ready for her to throw the chicken bones down, and
because
Yeah.
I mean, she's saying that they, first of all, we get this hint that there was a Cold War between the Q Continuum and the Elorians. So the Elorians must have some way to defend themselves against the Continuum. Otherwise, how could you have a Cold War with them? So that was an interesting point. And it also kind of, I think it's a good bit of backstory as to why Q can be ticked off when he sees Guinan, but he can't really do anything about it.
yeah,
So there's that. But
especially this time.
Once you put up those claws, man, no one can get you.
Yeah. Which apparently was something that wasn't in the script. That was something that the actress said, "Oh, I want to use that. When I need
Do
to
that
incorporate
finger
that."
thing, like when she first met him.
That made sense. I was like, oh yeah, there you go.
Right. And she says, nope, that wasn't him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very strange process. You have a bottle that was at the ceremony of the signing of the armistice or whatever it was, and you open up that bottle and drink some of it, and then scream.
I thought the bottle screamed. I'm not sure what was going on with the noise.
Yeah.
Well, no, she was giving a big scream while the furniture was flying around the room, and all sorts of the bottles were breaking and
tearing up a bar inventory. Oh my god!
I know, it's just like why bother? Why don't reopen the place because it's trashed?
Yeah, get them up.
It's 10 forward, backwards, upside down, and everything.
Well, the funny thing is, it didn't even work.
Right, and they don't know why it didn't work at that point.
Well, it's summoned law enforcement.
Well, yeah. So we get our first glimpse of Wells in here, who is a police officer who I guess he's with the FBI, right? I mean, this was his deal.
Did they actually say that, or did they just say it was like?
Yeah, he had the badge, didn't he?
It was some off the record thing.
Well, they were in the basement of an FBI building, so I'm assuming he was with the FBI. But that's that interrogation takes place in the next episode. We also have in this episode, I believe this is the episode because I'm getting them mixed together here.
You're into L-BAM mode now.
Is this the episode where Rios decides, well, I want to show you I'm a good guy? I'm trying to see if that's this
and brings her aboard
I think that's the next one.
La Serena.
Because they were on the previous episode and this current one. So I think that was the next two.
Okay.
Don't make assumptions about Wells. Just because someone works in the basement doesn't mean that they work there.
Yeah.
Oh no, I've got this note here saying Teresa finds Talon and Picard hooked together. And Picard is failing, and Rios hands Ramirez a neural oscillator, and she stabilizes.
Just aim it at his head.
Yeah, she knows how to turn it on and aim it at his head, but in order to prove that Rios really is like a good guy, someone she can trust, a really good guy, he then beams both her and her son to the La Serena
and lets him order cake.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe that was it right at the end of that episode? Then maybe.
Yeah, I've got that as a note here. That
okay.
Yeah, because the next episode is where they get to spend some time at least as far as my sketchy notes go. So who knows? But that is kind of the next thing that Rios' story has been kind of bizarre. I mean, he's kind of like been on his own adventure this entire time.
You know, I think his character is a little bit different than we saw him when we met him in the first season. I thought he would be a little more Han Solo-ish, kind of by himself. And
I was gonna say the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but this time he seems a little more empathetic. A little
Homebody.
more. Yeah, he didn't see. Yeah, something. Yeah, maybe getting into. I was surprised when we started off this whole series. He was in Starfleet. I was like, wow, I didn't see that coming.
True enough. And we have Jaradi being pursued by Seven and Rafi. And
I told you I didn't trust Allison and Agnes anymore.
And they're not sure. They can't really decide. They keep having these conversations. It's Jaradi's in there. No, she isn't. Yes, she is. No, she's not. Yes, she is. And because we're not getting a lot of conversation. We're not seeing a lot of the Queen in these episodes. It's not till the last one, episode 9, that we really get to spend much time with the Borg Queen and slash Jaradi. So
I disagree. They sang in Mercy.
Well, no, I'm saying in these episodes we didn't.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Oh, they sang in Mercy.
No.
That
they were
was
done singing.
Yeah. No, Mercy is the one. Mercy is another episode where we have flashbacks. Because now we have the flashbacks. It's not enough to have Picard's flashbacks. Now we have Wells's flashbacks.
Yeah.
Let's get in his backstory. That's the spinoff, Star Trek Wells.
That was a bit of a confusing scene when all you're shown is this boy running through the woods and, oh my gosh, it's Vulcans. Like, what?
Well, you know what I thought it was at first when I saw that opening scene? I thought, okay, Picard as a kid went through those catacombs down tunnels, and he came out in the woods somewhere. Yeah, came out in the woods somewhere, and somebody was chasing him. I was like, okay.
Well, we should read the synopsis since we just switched into Mercy.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So I'll do this one. This is Star Trek Picard episode Mercy, written by Cindy Appel and Kristen Bayer, and directed by Joe Menendez once again. With time running out before the launch of the Europa mission, remember the Europa mission? Picard and Guinan must free themselves from FBI custody. Seven and Rafi come face to face with Jaradi and the horror of what she's become.
And now she's only eating cars. Sorry. Come on, I wasn't the only one who thought that.
Yes, you were. You pretty much were. No, but I want to talk a bit about Wells's experience, because the first thing I thought of, but he's not old enough. The first thing I thought of was, oh, this is Carbon Creek, but he wouldn't be a kid that age at that time if he was alive at all at the point at which Carbon Creek takes place. So we're talking about some other visitation. Now we know from that episode of Enterprise that Vulcans were surveying Earth, just trying to keep tracks of, what's happening on this planet. So the fact that you have more people doing a survey by putting Bellagio type lighting underneath the pond in order to do it, that he runs across them. They have very poor security, because some kid with a flashlight who's screaming for his dog, they don't notice him.
What were they?
Yeah, I thought that was a little
ridiculous.
that was a little ridiculous how many times. And I noticed that in the next episode too. Like, man, Seven and Rafi are making a lot of noise, but the soldiers are not hearing it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Now in Carbon Creek, they crashed. But in this one, there was really no sense that we don't know how those Vulcans got there or what they were doing there, really.
Well, my guess is that they were setting up observation equipment, and I'm guessing that they didn't get a chance to finish, so everything got beamed up with them.
I was thinking something like they were trying to set up something like we saw in First Contact, not First Contact, Insurrection, where they're kind of observing before they make first contact with the
it might just be another one of those listening posts. Like
I thought they were just setting up a campfire ready to roast marshmallows.
Well,
Yeah.
that could have been too. I won't say that was impossible to happen, but
I think it's logical that we sing at this point.
Beans and bourbon. Never come on.
Yeah.
We've already covered that
Hey,
movie.
by the way, Clinton, that was a good catch. I totally forgot about Carbon Creek until you just mentioned it. I went, oh, that could be an interesting callback. I don't know that I think you're right, but
well, I
it's not
think
that
that
far, but yeah.
I think that right, it's not far enough. Again, I don't think that the flashback would set you back far enough for that to work, because I believe that was in the 50s.
50s. And this guy is probably in his 40s, maybe 50s. So
Yeah.
that puts him as a kid in the 70s.
Yeah. So I
Not close.
don't.
Yeah.
But also, what he
Carbon
was
Creek took place
wearing.
in 57. Which,
Yeah, what he was wearing would not be appropriate for
Right.
the 50s. So definitely was not that.
yeah, that flashlight was way too new.
Yeah, exactly. Those batteries were too fresh and they lasted too long. I don't know who.
Anyway, that's a great thought. I didn't even think about Carbon Creek until you mentioned it. Anyway,
When they were being interrogated, though, the FBI guy Will separated Guinan from Picard, and that's when she meets up with Q and figures out why didn't you answer my phone call, kind of thing.
Because he had to walk there.
And he also had a couple of good lines like, "It's the escape that counts," and humans were always trapped in the past, which was rather intriguing to me.
yeah,
Well, I think that is it's a running theme for the season. Picard, clearly stuck in the past.
Yep.
yeah, the whole crew. Yeah,
7, Jaradi, certainly Rafi is stuck in the past, so they all, it's like they all have to free themselves from the past.
mm-hmm.
I counted no less than 4 different threads in this episode. You have Guinan and Picard at the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Jaradi and 7 tracking down Agnes.
Corey and Sung. Yep.
And some of this obviously moves between each other because Corey's talking to the virtual Q, and then Q shows up and then we've got what was the 4th? Rios, when he was on his ship.
Right.
This is the one where he brought Teresa aboard.
Right. Well, that's now they're having cake. They're sitting
Right.
around having cake. Which
That's right.
somebody
Did you notice? I don't know if
that they had cake in season 1 and somebody didn't feel so good afterwards either. So cake
That's
on the La Serena, no, don't do
Scratch
it.
it off the menu.
the La Serena's computer sounds an awful lot like Majel Barrett. I don't know if they resurrected some old clips, but I don't remember her saying some of those phrases exactly that way. I went, whoa, that was
Ooh.
pretty good. Now maybe
have to
they
go
got a
back and-
voiceover person
Well,
and distorted them a little bit.
if I'm not mistaken, and I may be, but I'm usually not. That they have all the phonetics from Majel Barrett.
Yeah,
that
but
they
it'd
can
be a
do
lot
those
of
things.
Unable to comply. Internal scanner relays have been damaged.
That's what he said on the La Serena.
Right.
Major, you're a bit loud there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do have all that phonetic stuff, but it's a lot of work to make it work. So,
Well, I mean, Google does it. Apple does it. So, I mean, I'm just saying that from what I understand, they do have that.
Could
So
have
they
been.
can put it together if they want. Maybe they did. I don't know.
We own your voice, lady.
yeah, now, Corey, her story seems to, it goes away and it comes back again. And this time around, we follow up on the fact that she's discovered, well, she's got a really good idea of who she is, although it seems odd that Q has to explain to her what the deal is because
You
she's
were
watched all these-
engineered.
she's watched all these videos of her father talking about the different experiments. It seems like I think you should get it by now, but she didn't quite, or they think the audience wouldn't quite get it between the episodes, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But he gives her a little vial of the stuff that is marked freedom, and so she will no longer be housebound, if you will. She can just walk out on her own, and
The special Kool-Aid.
and she tells Dr. Sung, "I'm out of here. Peace out."
And don't follow me.
Actually,
I'll
I
call the
do like.
cops.
I like her line where she said, well, from my point of view, it looks like I made you,
Yeah.
which, even though he went through the
Or
effort
you're
to,
nothing without me, is what you
yeah,
said.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So, which
Right.
I
She
think
also
that's
said, if I
accurate.
walk out the door right now, are you more afraid of losing me or your legacy?
Yeah.
And he couldn't answer.
Anyway, give me a
Awkward.
minute. Yes. What?
I refuse to answer that on the grounds of incrimination.
Yeah. That's right.
And
I did love the back at the interrogation scene when Picard finally tells him the truth. And Wells' eyes get like the size of dinner plates. He's like,
I'm getting what I asked
knew
for.
it!"
I'm
Yeah.
getting what I asked for.
Was it like
And then he gets
this,
fired.
or was it more like that? Right.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
right.
Well, yeah, it's kind of.
By the way, I liked his description of the Vulcan mom meld. He said it was like they did like this, and they
Yeah.
he put his hand, and
Well, he
it's
had to
like they
have his
started-
memory wiped. How are you supposed to remember exactly what
yeah,
they
he started
did?
describing the hands going in his skin. I'm like,
Then you give him a neck pinch. Was it like this?
now,
I'm
which
also
also
thinking
goes.
that, I'm also thinking that probably kind of screwed him up a bit in addition to everything else, because my mind to your mind looks like their minds are intertwined and all of a sudden just beams out, just gone,
Yeah.
just like ripped
Ow!
out, you know?
Yeah.
It's like that
Which,
can't be good
also
either.
goes to the same point we talked about earlier from a child's point of view, just like Picard's. We said that maybe he didn't have the right perspective because of his age on what was going on. Same thing here. He's a little kid. He thought that
Yeah.
they were sticking his hands in his head, which isn't entirely accurate. So
Right, but you're afraid. You're in the woods. It's dark. You see these aliens. You see they have pointed ears. It's just like everything's racing through your mind. They're putting their hand on your face, and it's like what's
I
going
thought I was
on here?
watching the live action Iron Giant there for a minute. The kids walking through the flash looking for the dog.
Well, if Vin Diesel shows up, I'm out of here. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, both of us.
And I like the interactions between Seven and Rafi in this episode. I've liked a lot of their interactions, but we get these explanations of things. First of all, we find out why Rafi is so upset. Not that she should be upset that Elnor has died, but the cause of his death is really precipitated by her manipulating him to stay in Starfleet.
Yes.
Yep.
So she has that she's trying to live in the past out of.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Seven, who, in explaining what the Queen is going through, is essentially explaining to Rafi what she is going through, that she was ripped away from the continuum, that she wanted to get back to it. And she's tried one-on-one interactions and they just didn't work. So she lashed out and hurt the people around her. It's like, whoa, that was pretty spot on. So again,
she wasn't eating Janeway's tricorder for the lithium-ion batteries.
No, she wasn't. Or was she? In a deleted scene from Voyager. So
hey, another part of product placement there. She's eating Energizer batteries.
Yeah, are they Duracell or Energizers? That's what I want to know.
Still
and
going.
the camera pans on it for a minute, and she.
But in order for this plan to get somewhat revealed, the Borg Queen / Jaradi made one mistake. They didn't wipe out their search history because they were looking at the phone and find out what the searches were that led them to, she was trying to find out where Adam Sung lived.
What website was he looking at? Oh,
look at this crap she's buying on Amazon.
Which leads us into our last episode, which is Hide and Seek. Do you want to take this one, Craig, for the description of it?
So Star Trek Picard, season 2, episode 9, Hide and Seek. It was written by Chris Derrick and Matt Akuma, excuse me. And this is the 10th Picard script by Derrick and Akuma, directed by Michael Weaver. And also note that this is the first time Weaver has directed an episode of Trek. His past directing credits include Little Fires Everywhere, Future Man and the Mindy Project, and Powerless, and of course, Californication. Californication.
They gotta say that really well. Really,
yeah. You gotta let it. Yeah, it's a Chili Peppers album too. Anyway, so the brief synopsis. Synopsis. Picard must face the ghost of his past when he and his crew are attacked by a new incarnation of an old enemy. Seven and Rafi face Jaradi in a final showdown.
Now, when we left off on the last episode, Jaradi had just assimilated some special forces people.
Yes, and apparently wiped out their ability to be special forces in the process.
Yes.
Yeah. But they got green lasers on their gun, which was cool.
They do. Yeah. Were they red before they get Borgified, and then they turned to green lasers? I don't know.
I didn't understand why when they beamed those guys back to the La Serena, most of them were outside.
Right. Well,
it's too crowded. Don't come in yet.
I mean, I can understand the strategy somewhat, that you try to take the ship from the inside, but also defend from the outside in case any forces are split. So I can kind of see why you would do that.
Well, Adam was also trying to turn Picard or make some kind of deal with him.
Well, which was just to me, that was an out and out. We got to stretch out this episode because
I see in the contract, Brent Spiner needs 10 more minutes of screen time.
Well, they stopped shooting for him to say, I'm going to be famous. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Okay. All right. Let's go back to firing. That was that entire scene.
See, I hope they give us something in the last episode, because I love Brent Spiner, but I do not see the point of what his character is doing this whole season, really.
Well, especially you're talking about, the interesting thing here is that Jaradi / the Borg Queen says that either timeline goes this way and you're viewed as the savior of humanity, or it goes the way of Rene Picard makes this discovery and makes your research null and void. All right, so they're trying to save the future. So what happens to Sung in that case? If they put things back the way they should be, that means he just drifted into obscurity, or he went underground and just did research underground again.
Well, that's kind of what he did, wasn't it? Later on, he was just kind of, he was a criminal in an Enterprise, or a bad guy. And then,
well,
later on, other iterations.
That was a different, they'll look the same, so it's hard to keep track. But
all of them were kind of.
Listener Diane called us out for the last episode. She said you didn't mention Sonny Ozell was in Monsters.
Well, there you go.
Thank you.
Now we have. So again, I still don't see the point of what his character's doing, or what does it matter? What if they didn't have it in there at all? A lot of the stuff would just play out like it is playing out.
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
No. He needs to be a pawn to Q and to the Queen to try and stop the Europa mission.
Right, but what we're saying is that he can't succeed, otherwise the future doesn't exist correctly. So if he doesn't succeed, the Borg Queen said, you just die like drowning your own 80 proof or 90 proof.
Right.
Yeah.
So okay, then that's what's going to happen to him, one would suppose.
Right, but if I'm reading Craig right, why is he in the show at all? If he wasn't, Q and the Queen aren't going to stop the Europa mission on their own.
Well, the other question is, how does Corey figure into all of this? Because she just walked off.
Yeah. It
ticked off Sung and obviously drove him towards, fine. We just I'll go with the Borg Queen and save my, legacy and blah, 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 blah.
Save my synthetic hide.
But she just kind of walked off. It's like, is that the end of her part of the story? I felt it's like
maybe not, but her part of the story was as motivation for Sung to do the dark stuff. He wouldn't have tried to run over Rene Picard if he didn't have something on the line.
Dangled that out there for him.
Yes.
But then also the same thing is, like, speaking of walking off, we have Wells just kind of walking off at the end of that episode. And I felt like that was another. We just spent an hour with this person, and he gets a revelation. And it's like, you're fired. He left. He left. And I feel like that character, I really want to see if that character comes back in the 10th episode as well, because all these little bits and pieces of things need to make, it's a Chekhov's gun. You don't put that in, not Pavel, but you don't put it out there if you're not going to be using it. And I feel like we're not seeing all these threads coming back together at this point.
Yeah, it seems like they need another couple episodes to kind of wrap up some of the threads, because they're over here and we're coming up toward the end of the show. They're still too far. That's why Adam Sung doesn't make any sense to me. I don't. So it could have been anybody else. It could have been anybody.
Not somebody with the motivation though, or to somebody with the leverage. That's what I'm looking for, is the leverage. Corey was Q's leverage to get
the only
Sung to do
leverage
what
he had
wanted.
was he had to buy into that planetary society or whatever it was.
No.
Not the Planetary Society. Don't drag them into this.
Don't drag them.
I want to go back to Chateau Picard, where we've got
Let's go.
world's worst special forces,
come on.
who are not connected by the hive mind, because Rafi and Seven beat the crap out of one of them, and apparently he never had a chance to phone the collective of 30 other people. Go, hey, I'm getting the crap beat out of me in here. I could use some backup, which doesn't seem very Borgish to me.
Their green lasers seem to just like shine in through windows, but never hit anything. And of course, if they did hit something, they hit Picard's forehead, but there's plenty of time for him to get out of the way before they shot at him.
Yeah.
And I did like Rafi and Seven had that bonding moment by stabbing the guy together. brings people together.
they had their knife and their corkscrew, and they were.
There's 1,000 ways to die.
That's right. So then we get a little more confirmation that Picard's mother did have depression or some kind of disorder like that.
Yeah, because we see her in one scene, just kind of, you see her shut down, like mid conversation.
Yes,
and it just she's just gone from da 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 to the low end, to the trough.
And we find out there's an emergency combat hologram, and guess who it is?
Oh, we're back to the lesser
Pee Wee Herman.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Anyway, that was so funny. I forgot to laugh.
Right.
So, all right, we'll finish up on the La Sirena first then. Elnor is apparently the ship is able to create a hologram from anything or anyone that's been on board, and apparently down to what their memories are.
Right up to the moment of death, which I thought was really weird. Because he said, I remember, my last thoughts were
Picard should have just become, a
hologram,
a hologram with an emitter, for crying out loud.
Yeah, those things are just floating around all over the place now.
Yeah, if somebody stabs you, you're a hologram. Doesn't matter. Which I'm not sure why they were so concerned that he was going to get hit. They have to hit the emitter to take him out.
Right. I figure that's the thing to be trying to do, is rip the emitter off of him or destroy.
Why don't you put the emitter under the sleeve?
Yeah, exactly. It would. Well, the Wi-Fi signal can't get through if you do that.
That's right. And by the way, how many times can Brent Spiner say Picard?
It's in his contract.
Just yelling it now.
Picard. I think he said it like 8 or 9 times.
I liked how they beamed those soldiers into the dungeons.
Yeah,
literally. That was fun.
Yeah,
that was a little dark. I mean, it's not the first time we've seen that kind of thing happen with a transport beam, but this time was on purpose. I mean, it seems like
a purposeful transporter accident.
I like how it's right there where Picard was at. And he's like, whoa,
hey now. Also, we get to find out that I feel like I'm ripping a lot of this episode apart because a lot of it was filler. We get to find out that it doesn't matter if your gun is 80 years old and from World War II.
Oh my God, that drove me nuts. He pulls out that. No,
it hasn't rusted at all. Nobody.
Not at all. I'm glad someone was down there cleaning it.
Yeah, that's what the housekeeping staff was doing all this time.
Polishing.
That was a little off the top.
Yeah. So of course 7 gets hurt. And brings which I liked. where Jaradi actually started calling the Borg out and then turned it around and started to reason with her why you should take another approach to
Well, she
making
was calling
connections
her out
rather than
early.
literally making connections.
Earlier in
know.
the show, she was calling her out too, saying, this has never been about perfection.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And she's been saying you're just as lonely as I am. So,
Yep.
So stop trying to, hide behind all this other, crap, if you will, that they're spewing. And she then turns around that same thing that the Queen said to her in every instance, in every permutation of every universe, you end up alone.
Mm-hmm.
And Jaradi says in every instance,
You end up
the Borg end up extinct. So
for whatever reason, we started seeing like little bubble universes going on around. Like, what's going on here?
it's the multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to have the multiverse these days.
So she ended up converting the Queen.
Well,
kind of. It was more let's be friends.
Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing, and then you're gonna give me the ship.
Friends. Why can't we?
Yeah,
be friends?
It was like you can attract more flies more bees with honey than vinegar. Yeah, that's kind of the message I got out of it. It's like, hey, if the Borg want to get some friends, you shouldn't go around forcing them because then you make enemies at the same time. This is an Elmo moment, I think.
Yeah.
Assimilation is bad.
All right, well, I think we need to
wrap. Good.
I think we need to wrap this up because we're running very long on it. So I'm going to ask really quickly just for an overall in the 3 episodes put together. I know.
Wait. Did you catch the TNG reference at the end? When Picard said, I did imagine my mother getting to be an old woman.
Yes.
One time she even brought me tea. I'm like, well, yes, there it is. You can just picture him, almost falling out of that door.
He said that he often did that. I think it's one of the reasons why they're saying he had that illusion during The Naked Now. He said he had visions of his mother as an old woman, offering him a cup of tea and a chat. Which is also an episode in which a crewman is halfway through the decade. So it's kind of like the wall thing going on there at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes. And somebody, Gary Lindros was pointing out and other people have mentioned that the tiny little Easter egg you really would miss is the fact that there is I don't know if you did this pre-show or during the show, but the Enterprise, the 5th season Enterprise was sitting on the table.
Oh, yes.
I forget.
Actually, Doug Drexler posted that. I mentioned you guys, but for the listener, Doug Drexler, who is famously a model maker and set dresser, all kinds of stuff on Star Trek for many, many years, he had been posting pictures of a NX-01 refit that never got used in the series, where they would refit the ship and it would more resemble the TOS Enterprise that we know. So he pointed out, hey, it's actually canon now. And because Picard's playing with a model of it.
When was that? What did I miss?
When he's at the table in the study, you see a large, is it Miranda class? The Reliant? Is that a Miranda class?
Reliant,
go back and watch that.
On the table. And then it moves around in the shot depending on the angle, but it's the size of one of those micro machines. The model is probably only about, about 3 or 4 inches long.
Tiny.
It's not
but
very,
it's sitting on the table, like right by I think it's a glass of milk or something there. It's like right beside that. It's just sitting on the table kind of crooked because it's a spaceship laying on its side. So,
anyway, it was pretty cool to see.
All right. So there are many things we obviously could discuss about these episodes, but we have run out of time. So I'm going to lump all 3 together as one thing so we can rate this trilogy of episodes, as you will, where things kind of blended into one each other anyway. So I will start with Craig for the episodes Monsters, Mercy, and Hide and Seek.
Okay, and you want one number for all 3?
Yeah, just give me one for all 3.
Are we doing Borg drones? I guess.
Sure, let's do it.
All right. So I'm thinking overall, I'm going to go probably 8.5 for all three.
Okay. Kind of highs
Yeah.
and lows going on there.
Yeah,
obviously.
because
Yep.
yeah, a little highs and lows, but there's a lot to like in all three, but I'm gonna say 8.5.
All right, I'll go next. I'm torn here because I think Picard's story is a strong one.
Yep.
But it's stretched out too long, and we've got way too much filler going on here, and that really hurts it. So I'm going to go with 7.5 on it because I really think it got too hurt by just too many obvious. Let's waste some time here. Things. And how about you, Chuck?
I'm going to go right between you with an 8. I think, like Craig said, there were some strong points, and I think they really finished up with a punch at the end of hide and seek, and we didn't even mention that, so no spoiler there.
Yeah.
And that left me on a high note, going, we still have the season finale to do, and that's usually where they really come out strong on recent Star Trek shows. So I'm gonna go with an 8, but like Clinton said, it's like, how many times we got to go through the dungeon, and he's chasing after his mom and gets his foot stuck on that plateau. It's like, all right, yeah, it is. But on the same token, I also like those subtle things, like humans are all stuck in the past, and when you start to recognize Rafi and Seven and Rios, it's like, oh yeah, they are all stuck in the past, aren't they? They're trying to hide or relive or not relive a specific moment that was very important to their development. So yeah, it works on a lot of levels. So I'm going to give all three of these an 8.
Okay, sounds good. And we invite you, the listener, to give your opinion about either individually, if you have one episode you particularly liked, or just, again, all three of these episodes lumped together. And next time around, we're going to have the challenge because it will be the season finale of Picard.
Minute. What's yours number?
I gave mine already.
He gave it a number. He was a
7.5.
You did. Never mind. That's right.
See? I'll give it again, though.
Right there. Crackpot talk.
But next time around, it's going to be a challenge because we're going to be talking about the season finale of Picard, which I sure as heck hope does not lead into a cliffhanger for season 3, but we'll find out. And the series premiere of Strange New Worlds. So that is going to be quite the thing to talk about. But now, really, really quickly, our Warp Speed Roundtable. So last time around, we asked you to write a thank you note similar to those that Jimmy Fallon writes on The Tonight Show, but these are being written by Picard. So thank you notes from Picard. And listener Diane came up with 3 of them. First one is, Dear Starfleet Quartermaster, thank you for supplying me with an ill-fitting tunic so I could be famous for tugging at my clothes and not for skills as a captain.
I thought his hand was stuck to his forehead, and that's what he's famous for.
Yeah, that's right.
Dear Kirk, thanks for the saddle sores.
That's it.
Dear William Shatner, dear William Shakespeare, sorry, William Shatner, this thing of the Kirk here. Dear William Shakespeare, thank you for providing me with some of my most effective and moving speeches.
I like picture is Picard with Luoxana. How shall I compare thee to a summer?
Go on. All right. So I was waiting for more of the speech.
Yeah,
so
I know.
This episode, we're asking you to name a song that would be on Worf's Spotify playlist. All right. So you get a chance to, hack into, or he's made it public, whichever. What song would you find, or songs would you find on Worf's playlist? Now I'm going to start with a really obscure one because I think there had to be one out there. It's a song from 1928 by Frank Crummett, and it's called The Prune Song.
Oh, I was on the same track as you were, because there's a whole band called the Electric Prunes.
There you go. Their entire catalog.
There's also the Virgin Prunes, which is an Irish post-punk band formed in '77 in Dublin, Ireland.
Do they do Klingon music? What about you, Craig?
I was thinking more like Baby, Baby, Baby from the Carpenters.
Interesting choice. I have Ain't That a Kick in the Head by Dean Martin.
There's also a band called Stovocore.
Stovercore.
Get these right.
A legendary band. And I also have Patti Smith's The Warrior.
Yeah, I think I had another. I thought I had another one in here. Anyway, I can't remember it. Where was it? Well, never mind.
Well, you'll have to look for it in the show notes for episode 113, To Beam or Not to Beam, over on the
I'll
Topic
leave
is
some
Track.
feedback so we can read it later.
Exactly.
And you, the listener, can do the same.
There's a band called Blood, Wine, or Honey.
Blood, wine, or honey.
This is fun.
So those are some of our ideas. What say you? What songs do you think you would find on Worf's Spotify playlist? Let us know.
Baby, 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 oh baby. Come on.
We cannot afford the rights to any of these things, so please.
I can barely afford to say the title.
Birds suddenly.
No, we do not have the money for that. It's time to refill the delivery.
Given Worf's twist of character, like how he likes prune juice, or Rom likes root beer, you never know. Some of these human things might
He could
rub
be a
off
fan
on
of Culture Club.
Well, it could be.
Do you really want to hurt me?
See?
Well set up, Craig. Well set up.
All right. Time to refill the dilithium chamber and warp on out of here. You can find me, Clinton, at Comedy Forecast, all one word, with the number 4.com. You can also find me on Twitter and Facebook and MeWe and Instagram. And that cloud that just went by. You missed it. It was shaped.
Everything's in the cloud.
Yeah. Who speaks for you guys?
Go ahead, Chuck. I'm tired.
Hey, you can find us at Technorama Podcast. I did a search yesterday and we're still there. We still come to the top of the list over at chuckchat.com. Yeah, I was listening to Evo Terra and he said, you got to Google search and make sure that your site comes up before like Apple or Spotify. I said, yep, sure does. But they're right behind us. So you can find us on all of those sites as well.
Man, my show doesn't come up in any search for anything because it's spelled so weird. All right, so it's time to hit the theme.
I think your
boys.
marketing team let you down.
They did.
17 years ago.
I fired them.
Who'd you hire? John Bell?
That'll show him, Clinton. That'll show him.
Every time I look in the mirror, it's like they're still there. It's weird.
Yeah.
We're doing this as a hobby now. Anyway. All right. Hit the theme, boys.
Which one? Now you got me confused from the beginning of the show.
The one
baby, oh baby.
No, no, again. If you like the show, please be sure to tell a friend about it and subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear from you with your song from Warp's playlist. So you can follow us on Twitter at The Topic is Trek, visit our Facebook page, or visit thetopicistrek.com. Until next time, on behalf of Chuck, Craig, and myself, I'm Clinton, thanking you for listening. And as we always say here on The Topic is Trek, don't
put on the red shirt.
Oh,
Nice going, Craig. Mine's maroon. Yours is red.
You are maroon.
And scene.
I honestly thought you were going to say, if you like this show, I'll be surprised.
Yeah. If you like the show, please be sure to see a therapist.
That's right.
Consult your doctor.
All right. Well, this is the point at which we say goodbye and thank you for watching and listening.
Yes. Thank you. I got it. Bye.
Bye.